Wow, Cherokee. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Reverend Barbra Williams, and I have to tell you that 15 years ago, I was standing right here saying goodbye to everybody on my way to Unity Village to become a Unity minister. And this congregation here supported that journey. And so it's so good to be back here, and it feels like coming home. And this will always be my first home. I've served in other places. This feels like home. So I thought I might take you a little bit on my journey that started with me losing my story. You see, when I was a little girl, I had a story. And it was not just any story, it was a soul story. It was one that opened my heart to the possibilities of love and abundance and just joy in my life. But as many of us know as children, soon other people's stories start piling onto our story. Anybody have that? That's right. And so this little child that was so enthusiastic about life and had this story, soon there were other stories about what? Being perfect, taking charge, being mindful, obeying. And so the voice inside of me that honored my story went to sleep. And the other voices became the voice. And so I became good at following those voices. I became the perfect little student, the perfectly behaved child, the straight A. And I looked out into the world and I said, how do I please this world? Rather than listening to who am I to live in this world. And so in pleasing this world, I looked at the world and said, you know, the more aggressive you are about going and working and struggling and striving, the better you do. In fact, we put statues up to people that do that, don't we? I call it worshiping at the altar of do. If you shorten that, right? Yeah, I get that. It could be doo-doo there. And I forgot about a child that knew to be. When Jesus spoke that our way to the kingdom of God was through what? Little children. He was giving us a big hint. Because when we're little children, we know our story. And even as adults, it's always kind of inching up. And so by the time I walked into this church in 1979, I was miserable. I had the right job, high paying, all the degrees, and supposedly the right husband, and it all was falling apart. Because it was only right to the outside. It wasn't right for me. And so I started an adventure when I walked in the store to reclaim that story. And to take all those other stories about how I should show up in the world, to slowly take the power away, to gently take the power away. And what did I find when I walked in here? The missing piece. For me, the missing is that I had worked in this masculine energy. Not that that isn't good. There's a lot to be said. But I have lost a part of me, which is that balance, which was the feminine energy. And so when I walked into Unity, things started shifting for me. And I want to share with you our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. They said this, and the year was 1921, and they wrote these words as a Unity statement of faith. I believe that the Holy Mother the divine feminine, is now being restored to her righteousness in the world, and that she will reign equal with Jehovah, the divine masculine, in the heavens and the earth. 1921, these words. We were in a very patriarchal society, but something special had happened in 1920. Women had gotten the right to vote. And think of the power. The first ordained ministers in unity in the 1920s were almost all women. And my class was 75% women. So this was a new understanding and opening. And Charles and Barbra go further to say in Unity magazine, and this is in 1935, titled The Hidden Man of the Bible, Woman. You know that? Don't you love metaphysics? So, this is the quote from that article. So, we who are seeking the hidden man of the Bible will never find him until we discern him to be both male and female. The masculine phase of mind that has been allowed to dominate so long that it now assumes that everything must be subservient to it, and that its domain and diction is the new edict of divine law. The feminine, with its mighty heritage of love. The feminine, with its mighty heritage of love, has been mesmerized into this belief and accepts it as a matter of course, the rule of head over heart. This false state of mind has thrown the whole race out of balance and severed the spiritual connecting link between man and God, which is love. Jesus Christ was a balanced combination of wisdom and love, masculine and feminine. So when I walked in, I didn't have this feminine, and I was so hard on myself. And when you're hard on yourself, one of the tendencies we try to do is we try to fix it, right? We don't try to be. We try to do. I'm going to go do something. And we see that now in our culture. If we look at what's going on in the world, when people are feeling afraid, what do? Well, blame someone, right? And they also try to fix things. Try to fix it. And so what I learned over this spiritual journey, that the less I fixed and the more I listened, doors started opening for me in my life. That struggle and that pain started turning into miracles. Now, I like the definition I once heard a Unity minister say miracles are, because somebody say, oh, that's a little woo-woo, the miracle thing. Miracles are God's advancing truth seen through surprised eyes. Feel that? That just shifted it for me. These things that were showing up in my life through being part of this congregation were miracles. All of a sudden, I was sitting in meditation and listening, and I'll warn you, be careful about that, because I got a total left turn in my life. Here I'm thinking, I was a computer person, engineer, it was a great paying job, and I got a message to become a minister. And the first thing I went was, oh no. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, I was coming to church here, I was taking the classes, I was enjoying things. So I went to a therapist. And I said, you know, I'd like not to believe this. I didn't tell anyone that I had this meditation, actual words in a meditation. And she said, don't worry about it. take the first step there. Don't look at the word minister. Just say, I'll take a class. I'll do this. And so starting in those years, being here, I took a class. I became part of the staff. Can you believe that? I left the job. It was like everything opened up, and it was scary. Because when I left my job, some of my friends said, are you kidding me? You just left this really, and I had moved up pretty far in my field. You've left this job, you've left half the salary of your family's income, and you're going to work for the church. How's that going to work? I didn't know how it was going to work. But I had my husband's support, and what was amazing is 6 months later, he lost his job. Well, no longer was I this Unity student that spewed out ideas of prosperity and abundance. I was in panic. Absolute panic. And a group around here came and became my prayer partners. And they prayed us through it. And I got it. I went, oh my gosh, do I believe this? Do I believe that in my being is the answer? And so we came together in our beings rather than our doings and held the place that God had it. God has it for us. See, each of us have this story, this core story, and God has us. But if we're living the stories of the other people who have said, you got to be a nice little girl or guy and follow the bouncing ball and lead this kind of life, we miss the story. And we missed allowing God to have it for us. 6 months after my husband was out of work, we started taking money out of our savings. And by the way, we tithed off of it. I mean, that was the commitment I made, that if this is going to work, God, I want to see it. Within 6 months, my husband got a job that doubled his income and led him to these great career opportunities as I was going in a new direction. It was amazing. But it never would have happened if we hadn't let go of the smaller story so we could have the bigger. So here I am working on the staff, and Reverend Alan Robotham, some of you might remember him, he was here today. He was the one that tapped me on the shoulder and said, why don't you become our youth ed director? I was a licensed teacher with a specialty in youth ed. And he said, and I went, I can't do that and work my full-time job. And he said, well, quit. And so then after about 5 years on the staff, I knew it was time to go. And again, all the doors opened up. But I was afraid again. The kind of fear that keeps coming up, I keep processing these stories of, has God really got this? And so I started having this feeling that I needed to see the childhood book that was the center of my story. And I remembered the title of it and the last 4 lines of that book. And so I spoke to my daughter, and she went and bought it on eBay. Now this book is from 1958. It's called Ginny's First Secret, and I brought it along because it's a treasure. And this book speaks to my beingness. And I'm just knowing that for all of you, that you have some story, whether it's a movie or a book or something in your childhood that you knew who you were. And if you're living out less than that now, that story is still waiting. And it'll just keep pushing at your subconscious saying, pay attention to me. And so Ginny is this little girl. And what I love about this book, as I reread it, was that the mother is narrating it. And I call her the divine feminine. Because instead of the way I was raised, my mother was sit still, be quiet, get A's, make us proud. Especially with the grandparents. And Ginny's mother's going, well, Ginny is an exciting little adventurous girl. And she is alive, and all these words of support from the mom. And the mother's knowing that she really needs to support Ginny because her life's going to take a big turn, just as I was about to move from St. Petersburg, my whole life here, to Kansas City and to ministerial school. and to live in a different place and to drive in snow. I just couldn't even imagine this kind of life. And so I reread this just as I was leaving here. And Ginny's father gets a new job. They're on vacation at a dude ranch, Ginny and her mom, and they hear now they're traveling to the new place they're going to live. She hasn't had time to say goodbye to her old home. She's leaving to something unknown. Now I could identify with this. And so on the way, she's panicked, and Mom is there saying, you know, I love her. I know how strong she is. She is learning from this. She's growing. Can you imagine this? 1958. And this author is just encouraging the growth of this little girl. So as the story goes on, they cannot drive the car out of this dude ranch because the river has flooded. And so they bring a miner in that has a burro. And they're going to travel by burro. Now there I am. I'm back. And so Ginny, as they head towards the canyons, Ginny again becomes afraid. And the Mr. Miner, he's called Mr. Prospect, the miner, he is this wise old, and she's going, oh, we can't go down into that canyon. Have you ever felt like that? That where I'm going on my next step, this looks like it's going down. And he says, you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to do it. The burro will do it. And there's this picture in here that's just adorable. She's got the burro, she's hugging it, and around the burro's neck is a tag that says, Faith. She names the burro Faith. And I thought about that, and just before I was leaving from ministerial school, I'm writing a letter to God. But it's not a nice letter. I can't believe that I've been selected to do this. I hate talking in front of people. And as you notice, I don't have that problem anymore. I need somebody to time me and make sure that I don't go over, because I love to talk in front of people. But at the time, I didn't. And I'm writing to God, angry, angry, angry. This is not the way I want it. And I get this knowing that God's writing back. And I start writing what I'm hearing. And God tells me, you don't have to do it. I'll do it. I want you to hear that. When you're going down somewhere, or you're going to a new place, or there's something that's challenging you in your life, you don't have to do it. And so Mr. Prospect tells Ginny the line of the secret to this new place she's going in her life. And the story continues, and she goes to an old ghost town, and she meets a man that gives her this vision of what the town was like, because she's scared of this town. And he tells her to open her eyes and know that she's okay. And again, he gives her a line of the secret. And then she gets on a bus, and she's traveling, and they stop and they pick up a Lakota Native American little girl who's just her age. And the little girl's saying, I'm really scared, Jenny. I'm going to a new school and I don't know anyone there. And Ginny's telling her, I'm going to a new home and I don't know anyone there. And I thought about that. What is that in the story? And it's the vulnerability. You know, when we want to take this journey, being vulnerable and going along with somebody else and saying, you know, I'm scared. This is scary. And then finally, her last part is on a riverboat going down the Mississippi, and she's given by the captain of the boat, who tells her all about the river and the peacefulness of the river. He gives her the last line. Now, I bet you're wondering what Ginny's first secret is. Well, it's this. And it stayed with me that many years, from probably 1958 to 2002 when I was heading off. And these were the words. It was, open your heart. Was her first secret. The second, open your mind. Look for the best. The third. And that's what you'll find. I walked in, in 79, walked out 25 years later, and my story, my core, was being lived in this congregation. It was being lived. It was being blessed. It was helping me. I was being supported to get rid of those small stories and take an open heart, to love myself first so that I could love. And that takes so much courage. To have that love, to have that compassion. And so I had to learn to stop twisting. I was so tightly wound in my life and in working and doing all these kinds of things in my life, and I slowly unwound and got a new voice. It was a voice that loves me. It's a voice like my best friend. It's like a voice like the mother in this book. And you have that voice. You have that voice. So open heart. First heart. First heart. And then out of the heart comes that wisdom of sitting in the quiet and allowing God's story to bubble up. And then to take an open mind with it. To take that story and open the possibilities. And that's what Unity has done for me. It's opened my idea. I had this narrow little life. That only this was the way you succeed. Only these were the people I knew. And now my life became big. My understanding of spirituality became big and massive. And all these things blessed an open mind. And then looking for the best. Now, I can tell you, my husband would say, I belong to the school of Chicken Little. Anyone belong to that school? Anybody have a degree from Chicken Little School? I did. I had a chicken, and I'm getting better at it all the time. Thank God I have this. He's my second husband, but we were married here 33 years ago in this church. Thank you for laughing. I have just a nice memory. I think I was standing here 33 years ago. And all of a sudden, my story, we got this big, big story of life and of being blessed and of seeing possibilities where I never saw them before. It hasn't just blessed me. And the secret about this, and the final line is look for the best, is sometimes it's going to look the worst. It's gonna. We have reptilian minds. Scientists will tell you that we have a mind, and our reptilian minds go when there's a disaster and go, whoa, wait, and I got to go do something, fix this, or I got to, fight, flight, or freeze. I'm going to fight, flight, or freeze. But the spiritual mind, our beingness, it's like having a checkpoint. And every time we pray, we meditate, we listen, we work in harmony with one another, supporting one, we're adding to our checking account. And so when these difficult things happen, guess what? We can pay the bill. You've got that bill paid, but you got to put in the time. And to allow that voice when you're done suffering. When I walked in here in 1979, I said I was sick of being sick. And I decided, and there were people, I was seeing the hall was named after Frank Latitudo. I gotta tell you, when I walked in here in my early years, he'd go, there's the magnificent Barbra Williams. That's how I was greeted here. There's someone greeting you. It's a voice inside of us. Your story is a story of God wanting to create within you. And it's beautiful. And it's magnificent. And you're supported and loved. God's got you. Thank you.